Welcome to Poul's Kitchen. I'm glad you're with us today. Please join us for some butter chicken. Please hit the like, share, subscribe button, tell your buddies, and happy birthday to Alicia and her mom. We'll be seeing you soon. Welcome back to Poul's Kitchen. This is Chef Poul, and with me today is the ever so fragrant Chef Amy. Say hi, Amy.
Hi.
Today we're going to be making one of our favorite, most important, and awesome dishes ever. It's called butter chicken. Before we begin, I just want to give a happy belated birthday to a really dear good friend of mine. We'll call her Virginia. She happens to be Alicia's mother. She's not necessarily a member of our group, but she does watch her videos, and she just happens to be a very sweet and amazing friend to us. So we just wanted to say happy birthday, Virginia. So quickly, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Virginia. Happy birthday to you. At least you never said you looked like you were 33. So, anyways, enough of that. Chef Stanley wants to say hi. He misses everybody, by the way, so if you're watching and you know who he is, he wants to see you. So, anyways, we're making butter chicken, so we're going to use chicken thighs. You're going to ask, why chicken thighs? Well, that's actually obvious. Fat is not always bad. Now, being diabetic, heart issues, cholesterol, and all your other little things that are going on in life, having too much fat is not a good thing. Absolutely not. It really isn't. However, you can still have some. Right? You just have to choose what you're going to do. Now, if you're going to do like Amy's mode of operation and get a big tub of ice cream, like the big 4 liters, and down it in one day, not a good idea. Believe me, guys, I had to cut Amy off on that a while ago. But last night, you should have seen her. And she's not even defending herself.
No, I don't eat ice cream very often.
However, it's moderation with good fats versus bad fats. It's also cooking to your audience. So normally we probably have Alicia over on the weekend, but she's not feeling well and it's kind of storming out. So we can cook with all the heat we want. So first I'm going to try to open up some, it's the right way. This is some honey heat. It's honey with red chili pepper. So I want it red chili pepper in just anyways, so butter chicken, because of the tartness in some ways, is going to require some sugar. We're not using any sugar. I'm going to use that instead. And Amy's just going to love me because she's going to have to do a lot of dishes later.
That's okay.
We're going to use some ginger. It's already been pasted for us, so we don't have to worry about that. I'm just going to put 2 good spoonfuls in here. Ginger is a very important thing when it comes to Indian cooking because they eat with a lot of that and garlic. And you know what, if you're diabetic, the best thing you can ever do for yourself is learn Indian. Like seriously, Indian has some of the best foods you ever taste. So I've got some from Epicure, and you'll be hearing a lot about Epicure with us because quite frankly, it's a new line. My wife's actually working with them right now, but it's a new line that I discovered and I love them. They have really good spices, and I'm telling you, there's no extra preservatives in here. So I'm just going to put some roasted garlic in here. And then I've got some real garlic. Now, the chicken's been cut up in strips, and it's really important, and I don't think I should have to tell you this, and you probably don't, but I'm just going to say it anyways. Clean your hands. Really give them a good clean. Clean your cutting space. Salmonella's bad with COVID and everything else going around right now.
We don't need it.
You just don't need that. I'm going to put some black pepper in here. It looks like we need to go buy some more pepper.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I could hear it.
We're going to put some smoked paprika in here. It's going to give it a nice little smoke flavor. It's also going to give it a little bit of heat too. And then I'm going to use some red pepper, crushed red pepper. Now, this next part is optional. You don't have to do this. However, it's going to make this more tender because we're going to let this sit here. I would prefer it like 24 hours overnight. This is pretty early in the morning. What is it?
10 something, I think.
Around there. So, you know, by the time we're going to cook this, it's going to be most of the day gone anyways. But Greek yogurt is going to leave this nice and tenderized. It's going to make everything really tender and really good. And this is why we're using it. You want this chicken to be moist. You want it to be tender. You want, like it is butter chicken, and you're going to really enjoy it. One little thing of Greek yogurt should be more than enough. It's not. So what you're going to do, and I'm going to put this in the sink because we're going to clean this because God knows we can use this later for something else. No use to waste. So we're going to take everything, we're going to give it all a good stir. And we're going to put this in the fridge. And I would say no less than 3 hours rest. Let it soak and everything for 3 hours before we're going to come by and we're going to start cooking it. Cutting chicken, make sure that you have a really good knife because you're going to really need it. If you come in contact with any chicken, not a big deal. Just wash your hands really good. Give a really big stir. While we're doing this, it occurs to me that there's some people that we never get a chance to thank because, number one, they're not local to us, so you'll never actually see them unless they come fly by. Most of them are in Europe, but they're the people that keep our IRC server running. They're the people that help us with our web hosting, that handle a lot of the technical stuff that it's not that we can't do, it's that it takes a lot of time and they make our lives easier to do it. So I want to thank a couple people. Number one, I want to thank Helena. She's an amazing young lady who does everything in her power to help us, to help our message, to do what we can. I want to thank Suntop, another gentleman, I believe he's from Finland. Beautiful guy, absolutely wonderful. He works in the movie industry up there. And please forgive me, I can't remember where everybody's from all the time. But he's just an amazing individual, and I don't know where we would be today without him. And we'll be thanking more people later down the line, so if I didn't say you now, I'm not going to do a repeat my wedding, which Amy will joke about. But we will thank everybody, but it's not all going to be today. But number one, I want to thank Quopan. Quopan is very much like a brother to me. Since the moment I've jumped on there, he's been the first person to jump up and say, hey, look, we can do this. We can do that. You know, why don't you let me do this for you? Why don't you let me do that? Anything you see in our group, anything you've seen on the website, I guarantee you Quopan has had a large part to play in that. He very much is like a brother. I love him to death. Amy loves him to death, and we trust him pretty much with everything. He's an amazing person, and I don't want you or anybody else to ever think that we don't think about you. We don't ever appreciate all you've done, because that would be incorrect. We really do appreciate everything you've done. Amy does too, and we're very appreciative of you, so just a shout out there. So, like always, irc.darkworld.network for IRC. www.Pouls, Pouls-Kitchen.club. Hit us up on our Facebook, share, like, subscribe. If you have any comments, let us know. Yes, I'm going to butcher some things. I'm not necessarily doing things the same way that you do. I probably read and been told about 20 different ways to make this, and there's probably another 20 more, or more than that, really. There's a ton of it. So I'm doing it this way. We'll see how it turns out. I think Amy is going to like it. The last thing before I let you go, at this stage, when you put this into your fridge, start making your rice. Rice is always better when it's day old. Yes, it's not exactly going to be day old, but it will. But at least it'll be some time to cook, or some time to cook out, rest, and it'll help with the starch as well. So we'll be back when we're ready to take this out of the fridge and start cooking. Welcome back. Right now we're ready to go. So it's been a couple hours. The chicken's been well marinated. So I've got two things going here. So I'm going to put some oil in both my woks, my electric one and my regular one. We're going to turn the heat up on this one here. So I've got canned crushed tomatoes. Now, the reason I like crushed tomatoes, number one, I don't have to waste my time straining seeds and skin out. It's already done for you, and it's also very nutritional. It's actually way better for you than it is to buy regular tomatoes, and believe it or not, it's less work. Way less work. It's already done for you. So in here we're going to let everything heat up, and then we're going to start transferring our chicken, which has been marinating for quite a while. And like I said, you don't have to use the Greek yogurt. However, it is way better with Greek yogurt than it is without. And the reason why, it will help keep your chicken tender. It will tenderize it. It helps with the marination process. It's way better. And what we're going to do from here is we're going to saute some onions and some tomato, and then we're going to transfer everything into a blender afterwards. Why a blender? Well, that's actually quite simple. The blender is going to make our sauce or our gravy. Now, you can add hot spice to this if you want. That's totally up to you. You don't have to, but it's way better if you do. If you like the heat. If you don't, then don't worry about it. It's really basically whatever you like. So we got more than one pot. Sometimes I really show you we're using only one. You can do this as a one pot recipe if you want to. You don't have to do it this way. Because this touched chicken, this is going right into the sink because that's over. So in here, we're going to start adding some onions. Now with the onions, they can be a rough cut. They don't have to be really thin because they are going into a blender after. So that's not really important. I'm not going to start with this because a lot of people will start and put their crushed tomatoes in with it. But where we're using crushed, it's already in a paste, so we don't need to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this sweat out a little bit. Like I said, it doesn't have to be like super fine or anything like that. This is going into a blender. This is going to get pureed anyways. This is already pureed. We don't need to do that. So we're going to let this sit for a little while until things start to come down here. I'm just going to pour a little bit of water in here. And while you're doing this, I'm just going to put the cover on here. And to save time, we're going to cook our chicken while we're doing that. Why? Because it makes more sense. So it'll save a little bit of time. And this won't take too terribly long to cook. And you kind of need this to be done before you do anything else. So if you have to do it one pot, do this first. Get your chicken all cooked. Take it out, put it somewhere else for the time being, and if Amy will show me here, if you'll notice, missing the eyebrow that Amy shaved off last night in her sleep.
No.
So while we're doing this, we're waiting for everything to cook out. I'm gonna put this on a fairly high heat. It shouldn't take too terribly long. I've got most of 3/4 of a stick of unsalted butter. Unsalted all the way, guys. You do not need the salt. It's garbage. I've got 2 cans of crushed tomatoes, curry masala for butter chicken, roasted garlic, and that's about all we're going to use on this, and whipping cream. To most Americans, this is going to be considered whipping cream. That's basically what it is. So make sure your chicken's mostly cooked. It doesn't have to be fully, but you know what? I would encourage you to do it mostly. Make sure it's cooked, because again, there's nothing like, eating chicken that's not cooked. It's disgusting. You're going to get really, really sick. It's not worth it. And this whole process shouldn't really take too terribly long, but just make sure that everything's fully cooked before you decide that this step is done. Because you're using Greek yogurt with it, because it's been marinating in it, it's going to hide the color a little bit, so really, really be careful. Most importantly, when you're on my website, you'll notice that I don't give you measurements for spice. If you really want hot stuff, maybe while you're cooking the onions, maybe you'll put some jalapeno, ghost pepper, whatever peppers you want. You might want to put more spice in it to make it hot. Amy and I have decided as of today we don't want anything really hot this week, so we're not going to add it. We don't need it, and that's fine. But you have to think in your head what's going to work for you. A lot of recipes are going to say, well, you need to add sugar. I've used honey instead. It's a little bit more natural. You can use stevia. I don't recommend aspartame or things like that. Sucralose is all right. Stevia is really good. I like honey. It's a little bit more natural, so it should be a lot better. And you'll notice if you can really see this here, it's cooking up pretty quick. It doesn't take very long, and that's great. And this is all going to be a really awesome experience once this is done. So you'll see that these are starting to cook down really good, and that's what we want. We just want them soft. And this is going to be made right into a paste. So when it's all said and done, apparently Amy doesn't clean onions too much.
Yay!
Amy was on prep duty, so. But every now and again, just take a look at it. Don't let them burn out. We don't need them to go brown or black. They're not going to be burned. We don't need that. But we do want them to be nice and soft, so by the time we put them in the blender to make them into your puree, that they're going to be nice and soft, that they have an easy job. Once that's done, we can put it right back in there. And you know what? This whole process, we're almost done. This is going to be an amazing dinner. We've had rice done for hours, and the rice is going to be really, really good. Now, chicken may take a little bit longer than I want to keep filming and leaving you guys in here for. Amy and I were talking earlier about how much we appreciate our friends and how much we really care about them. Snoo, I hope you realize that no matter what, we do care about you, and we're only telling you what we think is the right thing to help you. CPU Cake and other of our supporters in New Brunswick. Hey, great work, working and doing everything she can during the pandemic and still going through school. Very, very proud of her. Doing really, really well. Quopan, please realize, buddy, you're a brother and we really care about you and we appreciate everything you do. Quopan has actually built our server that everything runs on from scratch. Meaning he just didn't download it and throw it together. He actually built everything through scratch. You guys don't understand how much support we have in trying to help you. I'm not here, and I don't think we really make anything that's going to be monetized anytime soon. I kind of hope we do, but that's not why we're doing this. And I appreciate everybody that's been involved with us that has helped Poul's Kitchen make its course. I actually encourage you guys to take a look at Amy's channel, Meals and Minutes. It's brand new, and you know what? She's got some really good ideas, some really good stuff that should help you. So, I mean, check her out. I mean, it's going to be really, really awesome. I'm very proud of her because she's really working hard on it. And between Amy and I, all we really care about is really, it's not about the money that she's making off her little side business. It's more about helping you become better and healthier. We kind of got forced into the diabetes when we really didn't want to, as if anybody ever did. Nobody ever wants to be diabetic, but it is what it is. But we try to share what we learn, and we try to do our best to help everybody on this because it's important. You know what? If you're diabetic and you're not taking it serious, you should realize that people have lost limbs. People have died early. It's not a joke, it's quite serious, and I want you guys to realize that, because if you don't, then you're going to run the risk of having some pretty horrific things done to you. And I don't want to hear that any of my friends ever got injured or hurt because of diabetes or anything like that. It's alright to splurge a little bit. It's alright to have a little bit of a cheat day, but you know what? You got to control it, and that's the main thing here. There's a lot of things in this recipe that may not necessarily be the greatest. Butter. It is cheating a little bit, but you know what? It's not going to kill you, but it will. But you know, for the most part, it's going to be healthy. So you're going to see the chicken here starting to cook down. It's, you know, actually looking quite good. What do you think, Amy?
It's almost done.
Yeah, it's almost done there. So that's coming along quite well, and I'm just going to find a nice little space. We live in a smaller apartment right now, so in some ways it's not exactly the biggest place, but you know what? For what it is, we love it here. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to space, which in ways is actually a lot larger than what we had before. So
this kitchen's much bigger.
But when it comes to me, I'm never gonna not complain about, you know, I'm always gonna complain about having or not having enough space. Unless I actually, you know, went out and bought a whole restaurant just to have the kitchen and bring food home, I don't know that I'd ever be totally happy. You know, if things work out the way that I like them to, you know, I would like to open a restaurant one day. Not for the sake of making capital off of it per se. You know, maybe make another food kitchen for less fortunate people and find a way to make it financially stable enough that we can support it and still help out people in actual need. But, you know, I have a lot of dreams that I dreamt as a kid, and yes, I was a pretty stupid kid, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you know, nothing will ever happen. I believe in time we'll be able to reach out and help people as much as we can. And you know what, if anything I've ever shown you, done for you, has ever made a difference in your life, you know, please share it with me. I'd appreciate it. Amy would love to hear it. If we've done something that's actually made a benefit for you or helped you at all, you know, tell us. Let us know. If you wish to support us, we do have a Patreon page. By all means, help us out a little bit. We'd appreciate that. But the main goal here isn't to get rich off of it. The main goal is to actually make a difference in somebody's life. I've always said if I can make a difference in one person's life, then you know what, then I feel like I've been a success. Alright, so excuse the noise for a little bit. We got this in the blender. We're gonna, where is the puree? Right here. sometimes this tends to be a little annoying, a little bit. But it's doing what it needs to do. Eventually I'm going to get myself a stand blender because that's kind of what you need.
Is that burning, honey?
No.
The chicken.
Okay, this is almost done, so I'm going to reduce the temperature a little bit. Because we're almost ready for that. Alright, so this is done. See how nice and pureed that is? Past all the vapor. I'm going to pour this back in here. Just to make sure we don't waste, because it's easy to waste. We're just going to scrape as much of this down here as we can, because now we're going to have to work a little bit quicker. Make sure you scrape the sides of this because, again, you don't want to waste. Because sometimes I find people have to, use a third thing just because they never drained everything. But I do enjoy having a lot of onions in my meals. And actually, I think we could use a third one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to take the camera for a minute, and Amy's going to get the third one, because we actually do need the third. Canned tomatoes are actually quite cheap if you think about it too. A lot of people don't really consider it, but tomatoes are actually incredibly cheap when you buy it that way. It's usually, if you look on sale, it's like $1, sometimes $1.50 or something like that, but usually not much more than that. And you're way better off doing it that way. And if you go out and you buy actual tomatoes for it, it can be kind of expensive that way.
Okay.
Alright, so this obviously is a little bit hotter than I would like.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn this down. Yeah, that was actually perfect amount. So we'll give this a good little stir in here. And this is roasted garlic because, you gotta have the garlic. A lot of the ginger, everything's already in there, so we don't need to add more. Now we're gonna put some masala in here. This is a special mix for butter chicken. And because this is tomato sauce pureed already, you're going to notice that once it heats up, it's going to be extremely bubbly. So just keep in mind that it's going to be a little bit that way. But I really strongly recommend going with canned tomatoes over fresh. Yes, you can do exactly what we did with the onions and you can puree it. No problem. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I still feel like you're better off doing this. Now this is whipping cream. You can probably use a little bit lighter cream if you really want. It's not a big deal. Don't have to use a whole lot. I'm not going to either. But use it until you put it in until you made the consistency that you want. And you're going to stir this in here, and then we're going to get ready and put some chicken in. Now, one of the biggest mistakes I think a home cook will ever make, and a lot of us do this, we just make what we want and then assume that everything's going to be the way that we want it. Sometimes it's not hot enough, and you know what? How do you know? The easiest way to tell is taste it. There really is no other way. And before I forget,
yes,
it's buttered chicken, so it kind of needs the butter. Because it's not in front of me, I don't think about it and I forget. It's better to put this in sooner than later. Because you gotta let it melt down a little bit. Can you use margarine? Yes, you can. You can find another alternative too. There's lots of them. Butter chicken. I'm not a big butter person. I'm really not. But
butter chicken.
But it's butter chicken, right? You kind of want to have this. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the cover back on here. We're going to put some stuff back in the fridge while we do that. And Amy's going to have some mess because it has bubbled quite a bit. So,
yeah.
So we're just going to let that melt down a little bit. I'm going to turn the heat off here because I do believe this is actually fully cooked, so we don't really need this anymore.
No.
And as I was just getting ready to say, we need to taste test. I totally blew off exactly what I said. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I know that the butter, when the butter is fondly melting in here, it will taste a lot better. But take your cover off every now and again and make sure that you're actually stirring enough here, because once the butter starts melting, you really want that. And you're going to have to add the chicken in here and once that's done too. Expect that your kitchen's going to get dirty. I mean, Amy's going to have to get on her hands and knees and mop the floor with her hands.
No.
It's going to have to be cleaned, and that's just part of cooking. I find that a lot of people, and we have a friend in the States right now, that they're finding the easiest solution for them is to eat at McDonald's. People like to eat out, and I get that. I mean, I'd love being able to order us a big pizza tonight and sit down and watch the Royal Rumble, which is tonight, eating a big pizza. However, with that being said, if I go and buy a pizza, it's going to cost about, what, $30? And yeah, pizza's cool because, it lasts for a couple days. Okay, cool. But this meal doesn't cost $30 to make, and if you see the size of everything, it's not going to be one meal. It's going to last two. It's cheaper and it's better. You know what? If you start cooking and you start actually making meals, it'll be cheaper, it'll be healthier, it'll be more fun. And you know what? I mean, it's a little hard for you to see this the way it is right now because Amy's filming, so I'm doing everything on my own, as far as you can tell. But what you don't see is behind the scenes when we're prepping, we're both working. We're working together. I don't think that's ever really the woman's job to cook or the man's job to cook. But as a family, if you think about it, yes, one person's going to be a little aggravated, overworked because they're doing all the work. But if you work together and do it, it can be a lot of fun. You can, get a good thing going where you decide, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And you know what? It can be great that way. So you never have to worry about. All right, so she's starting to
be done almost.
Yeah, so we just gotta put the chicken in here and then let it simmer for a couple minutes. But the point is if you can get into a routine where you're both helping each other, you'll enjoy it so much more.
Should move that pan closer.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Now, if I was cooking, for ourselves one meal, I don't know that we'd go this far, right? But this is, quite a large amount.
Yeah, it's a lot. It'll be good.
And the chicken is going to be nice and tender simply because it's been sitting here pretty much all day. And by all means, if you feel that you had too much sauce and not enough chicken, you know what? Save the sauce and then go out and buy more chicken. It's not that hard to do. Eat what you can, then go out and buy more chicken. We actually have another pack of chicken we're probably going to end up cooking later anyways. Not a big deal. Probably could have used the second pack of chicken to put in here. Mind you, the wok is kind of getting full now, but you get the hint. You cut your chicken up in nice little strips so that it's really small and a little bit easier for everybody to get a bite. And it's got nice little garlic in it. And by all means, if you look on the internet and you look at other recipes, there's 1,000,001 recipes. There's not just one way to make this. If you actually really want to know the truth, butter chicken was actually a recipe invented at a restaurant as a way to use leftover food. Tandoori chicken or something, I think it was. I can't remember exactly what meal it was, but they had a whole whopping thing left of some leftover food that they didn't want to throw in the garbage because it was still good. It wasn't bad or anything. You'll still see some of the butter is not melted yet, and that's fine. But we're gonna let that sit here for a few minutes. And they made butter chicken like that. So there's 1,000,001 different ways you can make this. It's not, if you don't make it my way, you're doing it wrong. You could take jalapeno, literally take jalapeno, and you can basically put it in with the onions when you start it, and then blend that. You can put other peppers. You can put more spices in. You can put more masala in there. It's no big deal. You can do a lot. You can make it differently. You can make it with less ingredients. You can substitute butter for other things. This is how we like it, and this is how we made it. So it's good for us. We're not really that hungry right now, so I'm not really going to make a huge amount. But our rice has been sitting here for quite a while now, so it's all been cooked. You can get some naan bread and you can serve it with that. If you're serving to other people, I might suggest doing that. So we got that there. We're going to let that simmer for a few minutes. At the end of the day, I want you guys to start thinking about making some food yourself. You're worried about spices, talk to Amy. She can set you up with Epicure. They make some extremely good spices. If you have a gluten allergy, a nut allergy, sugar allergy, diabetes, blood pressure, pretty much anything that I can think about. Did I leave anything out, Amy?
No.
No
peanuts.
Yeah, peanuts, like no nuts. No artificial garbage. It's very healthy, it's very good. Anybody that has a dietary need or restriction, this is what you want. This is what you need. They're really, really good. They're really well priced, and they actually give you a really good portion too. Like roasted garlic. That is awesome. It's going to take us forever to use all that. Like, what do you think that costs, Amy? Do you know?
$9, I think.
$9.
Something like that.
and that's Canadian price. Americans, I think, would be, actually, I'm pretty sure it's cheaper. But in Canada, you're gonna pay that. You're gonna pay that for a thing of garlic, anyways. But the whole fact that it's health-minded, it's a whole lot better. So you'll appreciate that more. All right, so I think that's simmered enough here. So I'm just gonna remove the cover. I'm just going to unplug this here because we're pretty much done. So, I mean, doesn't that look really, really good?
Looks really good. Smells really good too.
So we're just going to plate this up here. Make sure we get a little bit more gravy on here. So here we go, we've got our butter chicken meal. So please hit the share, like, subscribe. Please look at my Patreon page at least. And join us on irc.darkworld.network and www.Pouls, Pouls-Kitchen.club. And we look forward to seeing you next time.